Start?
Okay, go ahead. we're like staring at him.
Caroline Tufenkian is a Swiss Armenian American supporter and promoter of the arts in Southern California. Born in Zurich, Switzerland, to an Armenian mother and a Swiss father, she spent many of her childhood and adolescent years in various after-school art programs. Caroline and her family moved to Iran, then eventually came to the United States after the revolution. She attended the California State University of Northridge, where she studied and gave her thesis in art history, exploring both the commonalities and artistic differences of various diasporan artists, their immigrant experiences, and how they interpreted multiple cultural influences in their works. In 2015, Greg and Caroline opened Tufenkian Fine Arts Gallery, which is committed to presenting some of the finest modern and contemporary artists, both local and international.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Candid Coffee Season 3. This is our first episode. I'm here with Caroline Tufenkian of the Tufenkian Fine Arts. Thank you for having me here. I'm so very happy to be here. This is very special and different this time around. How are you?
Well, welcome, and thank you so much for interviewing me. I'm so glad to be having this conversation with you.
Of course.
So welcome to Tufenkian Fine Arts.
It's a beautiful place. I love the architecture. Thankfully, Roger had asked me to come down here and he introduced us, and I love connections like that because I knew right away that this would be something that would be very special for the both of us to film, to talk about the hard work that you guys have put in and these incredible artists that you have that I very much gravitated to. So I love the bond between all of us and referring each other. So okay, cool. So there's a lot of different artists here. Some of them I'm very attracted to and I'm gravitating, and it's some of the pieces you showed me even got me a little emotional. And some of them are a little bit different and unusual for me, and it all it's different strokes for different folks. Osman Jashakин and Gerchikache, so that totally goes to fashion and art and things like that. What was your biggest inspiration in opening up this beautiful art gallery with your husband? Like, what was that light bulb that went off?
Great question. So I would have to say that the inspiration came from curating exhibits around town for over 2 decades, all over in different venues in Los Angeles, and connecting with incredibly talented artists, curators, professionals in the field, and an incredible art community that we got to know. Mm-hmm. So in 2015, we decided to jump into it and open up a brick and mortar space, and that's how we started.
That's awesome. I mean, you had the love for it, you had the educational background for it, as you mentioned before, and you actually told me a really cool story. Tell us a little bit about the challenging and kind of unexpected things that happened when you guys were opening up and getting everything ready.
I think you're talking about when we opened up this space. So yes. Before this space, we had a space on San Fernando in the Los Feliz area in Glendale. And we were there for a couple of years. Then we saw this building and we decided that this would be a better, more central area for the gallery. So we decided to go ahead with this and did a lot of remodeling. And during the construction, we were working with the artist Caroline Tufenkian, and so we scheduled the show to open up in August of 2017. Mm-hmm. And come June, this floor wasn't in, the windows weren't in, the doors weren't in, pretty much all the drywall surfaces, nothing was there. We worked around the clock. They worked around the clock, and they did a fantastic job. And downstairs looked exactly like it does right now. Wow. Upstairs was nowhere close to being done, so we did not have an occupancy permit. But we did the opening on a Sunday, hoping and praying that an inspector doesn't go by.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful, beautiful opening.
Nice.
Garo was extremely happy.
Oh,
we had about 60 people here, and it just was.
It worked out really well.
It worked out very nicely, yeah.
Okay, good. You've been here a few years now. What has been the most rewarding part of all of this? Just something that feeds your soul and makes you happier to validates your work. And what kind of shows and exhibits have you done that you want to highlight a little bit?
So what has been rewarding in this journey? I would have to say that being in the art business is a business of love, the passion. You've got to love what you're doing. And it is an honor to work with such talented artists and such inspiring artists. And it always, it's thrilling to find a new artist whose work moves me. So that's really exciting. Then I also would have to say it is a privilege to work with top professionals and curators and scholars in the field, so that's always a privilege, and it's always very exciting to work with enthusiastic collectors who, walk away happy and enriched with what they've either seen or what they've purchased, or
Absolutely.
So that's always very exciting. And I have to say it's also very rewarding. We've done 5 books or 5 catalogs, and it is very rewarding when we receive the catalogs and we know that these catalogs are documenting what we've done for future generations.
Because things are changing all the time. You have to document them,
yes.
right? Yeah, absolutely.
So we've done 5 of them so far, and we'd like to do more, and each one comes with an essay by important scholar in the field or critic in the field, has images and also their CV. So,
very cool.
We're very happy about these. The shows that I've done over the years, gosh, I think I've loved every single show, because every time we put up a new show, we're like, wow, this is the best one. And, on and on and on, and every time it's like the best one. But
because you're creating it.
Yeah, but a couple of them that I want to maybe talk about or highlight. One would be Life 100, which I was very happy to co-curate with Harry Vorperian and Tamar Sinanyan. And Harry Vorperian is actually one of our gallery artists. That exhibit was in 2015, and it was recognition of the Genocide Centennial. And we had about 60 artists, so 30 of them were what we called master artists, or who were very significant artists from different places. So we had artists from Armenia, for example, Saryan's work, we had Minas Avetisyan's, we had artists from Europe, Jean Sem, we had Karzuz, and then from the United States we had artists such as Andreasyan, we had Gorkys, and we had Altoons, just to name a few. So it was definitely a very significant,
that's huge,
an important art show, and we had 30 contemporary artists who we also featured. And that exhibit was probably one of the important shows that we've done, just because of how big it was and how significant it was.
Right.
And the website is life100.squarespace.com. And I would urge you to take a look and explore the artist and the artist's works. And we've got excellent essays that have been written about Life 100 there.
You told me a lot of your artists that you showcase are about 50-50 most of the time, of non-Armenians and Armenians, and non-Armenians by Armenian paintings and Armenians by their painting. And I love that we can kind of mix that culture together, and they know you and they know your last name, and it's like, it's a big deal.
Yeah, well,
so it's that reputation.
Yeah, well, I think for me, one of the main things was to build bridges between Armenian community and non-Armenian community, the Armenian artists, non-Armenian artists, and you know, to bring them together in one location. And for me, the gallery is, you know, a place for cultural dialogue, for cultural growth, and it is a living space and an ever-growing space. Of
course.
So that is actually another one of the rewards. It's so exciting to be part of this whole, you know, melting pot or cultural area, life. So.
Of course, yeah, and if you didn't invite them or showcase them, we're just going to be recycling all this stuff between us Armenians, and it's great, but it's so limited, and no one's going to see our amazing work. And eventually, we're all going to pass on, and they're going to pass on, and it'll just be within us. But then it's better that other people are seeing it too. It's great. Yeah, fantastic work. What is the current show that's happening right now, or that you're working on right now?
Okay, so the current show that we have up at the gallery is titled Tribute, and it's works on paper by 4 very significant and established and respected artists. They are Garo Andreasyan, the artist that we actually opened the gallery with. So this is his works on paper. And then Varojan Bogosian, Hakko Pakopian, and Ruben Nakian. All of them pretty much are the same generation of artists, all of them very different places, geographically, living in different places, and also stylistically very different.
Right. I'm looking at them right now, just completely different from each other.
Garo Andreasyan is best known as a lithographer, often called the godfather of lithography, because he was instrumental in reviving lithography in pretty much the United States in 1960s.
So lithography, for non-artistic people who don't know, what does that mean exactly? What type of artwork is that?
Yeah, so lithography is a print process. In fact, I didn't really have a good grasp of it either until I actually visited the Tamarind Institute. And Tamarind Institute is the workshop that Garo Andreasyan and June Wayne opened up in 1960s in Los Angeles, and that's how they revived, it was a big part of reviving lithography in Los Angeles. So lithography is a print process on these big, huge stones, very flat stones. They paint on it, and then it is the image is pressed on paper.
Onto paper, like a printer.
Like a printer.
Wow.
So lithography is really very much of an artist's artistic process, rather than just a print process. The first time I actually met Garo was in 2014. And when I met him, I said, you know, Garo, your work looks like it's some kind of a language, some kind of an alphabet. And have you ever done anything in Armenian, using the Armenian alphabet? He said, no, I haven't, because I don't read or write Armenian, I don't speak Armenian, but I've always wanted to do something using the Armenian alphabet.
It looks kind of like a...
Yes.
Like a backwards H or something, or T or something.
And he had very much of an Armenian soul. So when I came back to Los Angeles from Albuquerque, I bought a book for him of Armenian fonts, and I sent it to him, and I said, I hope this inspires you to do something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And years later, when we were putting together the opening show for the gallery, I said, Garo, did you ever do anything using the Armenian language? And he said, yes, but I'm 95, 96 years old, my hands are shaking, and if you don't want to include it in the show, you don't have to include it in the show. And I was like, are you kidding me? It's one of your most recent pieces. It's the only one that's using Armenian language. You think I'm not gonna use it in the show? Of course it's gonna be in the show. So in the next room we have Varjan Bogosyan's work. Varjan Bogosyan was born in Connecticut. He grew up there and he went to Yale, graduated Yale and got his master's from Yale as well. After that, he was an established artist and also a professor. He taught at Brown and then he taught at Dartmouth for over 25 years. Wow. So a very loved professor, artist in that whole area. Not very well exhibited on the West Coast. So 2 years ago, I visited him at his studio in New Hampshire, and we had decided to do a show in Los Angeles. So I brought over quite a few of his pieces.
Awesome.
And unfortunately, COVID happened, and we had to postpone everything. But last September, we decided to go ahead with it and put this show together and include his work. Fortunately, the week that we put his show up and we videoed it to send to him, we heard that he passed. So it was very sad.
Yeah, it is very sad with these artists. They always get so much more love and attention and recognition and, you know, all that appreciation when they've passed, unfortunately. But I mean, that's why you're here. That's why we have art galleries and museums and things like that, so we can remember them and, you know, pay tribute to them and pay respects to them. So that's still okay because you got a chance to see him and bring his work.
And these are the works of Varjan Bogosyan. He was an artist in New Hampshire. He taught at Dartmouth for many years. And he does mostly collages and also assemblages. We don't have any of his assemblages here, but those are also very, very special. An assemblage is when he finds objects and puts them together, so more of a three-dimensional kind of artwork.
Okay, very cool. So we mentioned
two of the artists. Third one is Hakko Pakopian. He was born in Egypt. He studied in Paris, went back to Egypt, and he was there for many years, but he always had this draw to go to Armenia. And when he was in his mid-40s, he actually moved to Armenia. He started painting more landscapes and became very well known as landscape artist of Armenia. And here in this room, we have the works of Hakko Pakopian. He had the honorable titles. He had many honorable titles. One of them was the Armenian Artist of the SSR and the Armenian Artist of the USSR. So the last artist that we have in this show is Ruben Nakian. And he was considered one of the most significant abstract expressionist sculptors of the time.
Right, the one in here.
Yes, and he also did a lot of drawings, and his drawings are based on Greek mythology, and we'll take a closer look at his work as well. These are the works of Ruben Nakian. Ruben Nakian is the oldest of these four gentlemen. He was a very influential sculptor. He did the Babe Ruth sculpture. He's done quite a few of the presidential busts. And he was best known as a abstract expressionist sculptor. And he also did a lot of drawings, and the drawings were often studies for his sculptures. And this one is Leda and the Swan.
First of all, the biggest elephant in the room and the biggest eye-catching piece is the one right behind us that I loved so much, and I took pictures of before. And this piece is also his as well. Geram Kacherian. Okay. So tell us a little bit about this because it's really, really cool.
So Geram Kacherian is originally from Armenia, and he's been here for over 20 years. and he was with the Rosamund Felsen Gallery, which is a pretty well-established gallery. He was there for 12 years until she closed down.
Is that here or?
That was in Bergamot Station.
So he really established himself with non-Armenians.
Very much so.
Wow.
Very much so. In fact, one of the things he always says is all his Ararat Masizes have gone to non-Armenian homes.
Wow.
So,
nice. I love that.
But yeah, he's an amazing artist, and in this particular piece, it's he doesn't have any of his figurative images, but he is an incredibly skilled figurative and representational painter as well. So, and to have that
impeccable detail
and this imagination is just it makes for an incredible artist.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, individually, it's, as you can see, it's 3 pieces. Individually, they could stand on their own.
Absolutely.
But all 3 of them together is really an incredible piece that needs this big space. I'm just, very intrigued by it. I would love to tap into his brain and see what was going on with all this stuff. What else? And the table, as you can see, it's kind of similar designs here. These are both available at Tufenkian Fine Arts, at the gallery.
And in this room, we have the works of Sigurd Burton, who's not necessarily with the tribute show, but these are the pieces that we have from the Sigurd Burton show, which we opened March 8th of 2020. And unfortunately, because of COVID, we had to close down less than a week later. Sigurd Burton is a Pasadena-based artist. She was the studio assistant for Helen Frankenthaler, and she's had a long and very prolific career.
We're also going to be talking about these really cool
TFA artist boxes, Tufenkian Fine Arts Artist Box.
Tufenkian Fine Art Artist Box, there you go. Okay, so it is not just for children, but it's for anyone who wants to explore their creativity and try something with, painting and things like that. And it comes with a whole kit. This happens to be Roger's, so shout out to Roger again. You can go ahead and show us what's in there or talk about it.
Yeah, so basically this came about because we were just exploring different things to do during COVID. Too much time on our hands. But I'm really happy with it. These artist boxes are for, as you said, anyone who wants to explore their inner creativity, for kids to keep them creatively entertain and exercise their minds in in a very productive way while they're indoors. So the artist boxes, this one is Roger Kupelian's artist box, and this one is Harry Vorperian's artist box, and each one has in it a canvas, paintbrushes, watercolor, colored pencils, acrylic paint, and sketchbook and a palette. And also, each one has its own respective page about the artist and how to paint like that artist.
Like them, yeah.
So,
very cool.
A little individualized. So those are exciting. And then we also, I'm excited about our merchandising also. So we've started this with Roger Kupelian's artwork. And this is Tommy Rust.
And also very, related to the war as well. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I like that you guys are trying to be creative during a time where we're kind of stuck and we feel like we can't do anything and it's frustrating. So you guys are coming up with interesting, different things for kids and adults too. Yeah. Very, very cool. I love it. I love that you have some stuff for kids to do as well. And again, men, not trying to knock the guys, but I'd love to see some female artists come up on your walls. This concludes our first episode of season 3. I'm so excited. Thank you for joining us. We're going to have an amazing panel of people for this year, and you just kicked it off to such a good start. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for inviting me here. Until next time.